Hi guys, welcome back. Today our YouTuber is Native Cyan. Native Cyan at his heaviest weighed 674 pounds. And one day one of his viewers left him a comment. Native Cyan, how did you let yourself get so big? And instead of taking it the wrong way, Native Cyan decided to answer that question. Here's that answer.
In high school, I was 250, 270 pounds. I was a big guy still in high school, and I wish I was 275, 250, even now. And I was making fun of because I was fat at that size at that age. At 275, I was like, oh, look, there's a guy who's 300 pounds. I won't get that big. And pretty soon you're that big, and then you see someone 400 pounds. Oh, I'm not going to get that big. It's fine. There's people that are bigger than me. You watch 600-pound life. Oh, I'm never going to get that big. And then just, it slowly creeps up, not coming to terms with things that happens in your life. Eating so much food, consistently in fast food, consistently in fried food, just mac and cheese, hot dogs, eating spaghetti, huge bowls of spaghetti, and having just a lot of food all the time.
So the first thing I'm noticing when he's going over this list is those are comfort foods that everybody in America eats on the regular. So all of those foods he described are foods that I've been known to gorge myself on. If you love those very foods that he enjoys, let us know down in the comments.
And consistently saying there's always someone bigger. Always telling yourself, oh, I'm not 400 pounds, I'm only 300. Constantly saying, oh, I'm maybe 400 pounds now, but at least I'm not 450. You keep moving that goalpost. As soon as you hit that goalpost, you move it again. At least I'm not da-da-da. At least that's what happened to me. At least that's what I went through. I don't know how other people are. I can't speak for them. I can't speak for every obese person, but that's what happened to me. I knew it was happening. I just kept lying to myself. I just kept telling myself, there's always someone fatter. There's always someone bigger. There's always someone more unhealthy than me. And pretty soon other people are pointing to me and saying, well, at least I'm not that unhealthy. Well, at least I'm not that fat, pointing to me now. And also I went through this phase of food where I was like, I don't want to live life not eating certain Asian style food. Or I don't want to live life and not try this Indian food. Or I don't want to live life not knowing what a McRib tastes like. Or I don't want to live life like I want to not. How do I put this? I think I had a shirt that said something along the lines of, I don't want to live life not knowing I could have ate this style of food or something. I was very much like, this is my body. I love it. I'm fat. I'm da. And I got caught up into that for a while there too. There was people telling me, it's okay. You're still healthy at 400 pounds. You're still, it's okay. You could still be mobile because you're very athletic and you carry your weight very well. And there's so many things I wish people didn't say to me because it reinforced to me that it's okay to be fat. It's okay to be the way I was.
Have you ever heard that expression that when you try to make everybody happy, you end up making nobody happy? And as a matter of fact, you make people downright angry with you. I think sometimes as human beings, especially in America, we don't want to hurt people's feelings, right? And so we go out of our way to try to say the encouraging thing, which I think is good overall. You want to be encouraging and uplifting, but you never know what's in somebody's head. And if they're really down about their weight, the last thing they want to hear is what a positive attribute it is, you know? Let's check out one of his commenters here. So Linda Parrish says, I love your honesty. Native Cyan, I am a 63-year-old white lady who thought fat and sassy was fine. I was sure that I was healthy until I had a heart attack 1 year ago. Now I'm doing what you are, changing things a little at a time because I'm not as healthy as I thought. Fighting through the pain is the hardest but the most satisfying. You keep fighting, Native Cyan, and I'm right behind you. Linda, that's an excellent comment, and I couldn't agree more. Sometimes we think we're healthy, and then all of a sudden we have a major setback with our health, and it makes us have to readjust our thoughts. If you've ever had this situation of a heart attack or stroke or anything scary to do with your health, please share down below.
The confidence level was always up here. No matter how big I was, my confidence always through the roof all the time. I'm always cheery. This is me, not playing a character. People telling me that it was okay to have 1 foot in the grave at 600 plus pounds. People telling me, hey, muscle weighs more than fat. Or people telling me everyone's healthy at any size. As long as you have a good heart, you're good. Whether you're 100 pounds or you're 900 pounds, we're all human beings and we should all blah, 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 and very hard topic for me to talk about. But on the plus side, things are changing. Things are going great. I'm 460 pounds. I was 674. Life is turning around. I'm exploring life. I'm living life. I'm doing what I can. Right now, I'm learning foods. I'm learning my diet. There's so many great things that I'm doing right now, and nothing's going to stop me from getting at a good weight. I don't have a weight goal. I want my independence back. And then from there, I'm going to put like a weight on it because I might get my independence back next month or 2 months or 4 months. I'm not going to be 300 pounds or not going to be 200 pounds. And I might not even have my full independence then because of bedbound. My ankles are still weak and I work them out all the time. My calves consistently spasm out and my neuroma, my plantar fasciitis, my gout. I still have to focus on all these other things. And my sciatica nerves are shot like crazy. And there's so many things that's probably still going to be there even down another 200 pounds on top of what I'm already down 200. And in my mind, I figured now I'm in pain when I was 674 pounds because of my weight, because of all these nerve damages, because of my foot, because of my hips, because of my back, because of this. I still have it now when I'm 460 pounds, but I lost some of them. And what other ones am I going to lose if I'm 300 pounds or 290, 280, 265, whatever? How much of the pain am I going to lose because of that? Because I don't want to be in pain no more.
Good for you, Native Saiyan. So that's always awesome, right? When somebody's already gotten 200 pounds closer to their goal. What he said there was interesting. When he was in high school, when he was 275 pounds, he said, I'm not going to let myself get up to 300. If you're in that zone right now, it's so important that you keep that goal to yourself. Don't let yourself get heavier because as you do, your legs, your knees, your hips, they all start to fail you, and it makes losing weight that much more challenging. Let's read a couple more of his comments here. I think his viewers really care about him a lot. Displaced Alaskan says, Native Saiyan, the title of this video really hit home. And by the way, the title of his video was How He Lied Himself Up to 674 Pounds. The title of this video really hit home. I'm pretty sure I lied my way to my current weight too. I think people also lie their way to alcoholism and other addictions in the same manner, telling themselves it's not that bad. Pretty sure my house gets messy through a series of self-lies too. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. And then finally, Freeing Michelle says, I appreciate you handling this question in this manner. This happens to all of us in many aspects of life. When we lie to ourselves, we tend to end up in places we did not want to go. That is so true. I know a place that we should all go. Why don't you guys go get your shoes? Let's go for a walk.
Good morning, Venters. I hope you're having a happy Tuesday. It is a very happy Monday for me. I woke up about 45 minutes ago and I just had a really nice sleep. I I've been sleeping really well since I started the channel. When I was recovering from my surgery, sleep wasn't necessarily the most enjoyable aspect of it because I had to sleep in just a weird angle, so I had this surgery on my tailbone area, so I couldn't sleep in the most of comfortable positions as I was recovering. But over the last handful of months that I've been doing the channel, I've been sleeping a lot better, and I think sleep is super important. And if any of you guys are having trouble with your sleep pattern, you guys probably would agree with me. You know, the reason I think people should watch Walk, Talk, Vent is because in the late 90s, early 2000s, one of my family's favorite shows was called Big Brother. And Big Brother was a unique show because not only was it showing a dynamic of a bunch of strangers moving into a house together and surviving, where one person got evicted each and every week until there was only one person standing that won the show, you know? What was addictive to me about that show was, before that, every show that I really fell in love with was weekly. So you watched a show and then you went about your week, and then the following Monday or Tuesday or whenever your show landed on, you would watch TV again with, you know, probably your family or friends, and that was your show. But with Big Brother, it had this interesting dynamic where it was literally on like every day. Or I believe they had a weird schedule where they were on like 5 or 6 days out of the 7-day week. But it was just the most enjoyable show. And if any of you guys have moms or family members that are, let's say, age 50 or above, maybe even 40 and above, almost all of them, at least the women, had soap operas that they liked. Why? Soap operas were cheesy, right? The reason people like soap operas is because it was like a never-ending story, and after a while you felt like you were a part of that world, right? Whether it was Young and the Restless or Bold and the Beautiful or As the World Turns, right? A lot of us can still remember these soap operas, and the crazy thing is, some of these soap operas have been on for 50 or 60 years in a row, and they're just as popular now as they ever have been. Another daily show that my family grew up watching was Wheel of Fortune, was Price is Right, right? Press Your Luck. We had all these shows that we grew up with, to the point where the people on these shows, like Pat Sajak and Bob Barker, they kind of felt like family members. And speaking of family members, we almost had a weird trifecta of losses that we're not really talking about. If Donald Trump gets eliminated, then literally over the weekend we would have lost Richard Simmons, age 76, Shannen Doherty, age 53, and then Donald Trump as well. I'm not sure exactly how old Donald Trump is, but I think he's pushing like 80, if I remember right, or his mid-70s at the youngest, right? And what's interesting is, because Donald Trump survived an assassination attempt, we kind of lost track of the other two people that we did lose. Guys, we lost Shannen Doherty, who, when I was growing up, she was a part of what came across as a teenage soap opera. She was on a show called Beverly Hills 90210. And that detailed two kids, the Walshes, her and her brother Brendan, right? And I believe they came from Minnesota. And all of a sudden they were put into this real ritzy school, right? In Beverly Hills. And if you're a fan of the show, you probably remember that the kids on that show, or the teenagers, I should say, would all hang out at this place called the Peach Pit. So if you loved the show, which I didn't really, but a lot of people did, a lot of people kind of fantasized about, you know, hey, let's hang out at the Peach Pit. Even though they didn't really have a peach pit to hang out at, you know, it was still a neat idea. Shannen Doherty passed away at age 53 over the weekend, right? And what's really weird about that is my Uncle David passed away at that same age of the same thing, cancer. I don't know if they had the same cancer, right? But the point that I'm making is that life is so short, and I'd be willing to bet that when I was younger and people were watching 90210, a lot of people probably wished that they could be Shannen Doherty. But let's be honest. Nobody would want to be Shannen Doherty from the standpoint of, if you only live to be age 53, now that's kind of a sad thing in life. Interesting thing is, I heard a Shannen Doherty interview where apparently she said one of the best things that ever happened to her. Hey, good morning. One of the best things that ever happened to her was actually getting cancer. It helped her empathize with people, and she felt like it made her ultimately a better person. God bless you, Shannen Doherty. Hopefully you are in a much better place. But it kind of brings me up to another idea that a lot of times we look at other people and they might be super, super popular. They might be super duper famous. They might have a lot of money and a lot of fame and a lot of success, right? And it's real easy to say, you know what? I wish I was that person. But you want to know something? If you would have known way back in the early 2000s when we first met this character named Shannen Doherty, right? This person, a lot of people would have felt the opposite. A lot of people would have felt like, hey, if I would have known she was going to pass away at age 53, nobody would want to be Shannen Doherty. We want to be like my grandma Carmen, where we lived to be 98 and a half, right? Maybe 90. Right? We don't necessarily want to be so old where people have to literally help us sit up out of the bed and stuff, right? But we want to definitely live to be longer than 53. And just like Shannen Doherty felt like she was kind of a family friend or a member of the family, you know, my Uncle David was actually a friend and member of the family. And when people pass away at age 53, you just think, God, that is a crying shame. But again, if death is just a doorway, which I believe it is, then maybe only the good do die young, and maybe Shannen is in a much better place today than she was a week ago, you know? And I hope and I have faith and belief that my Uncle David, again, like Shannen Doherty, I'm hoping that he too is in a much better place. And I'd like to think that he's right here next to me, walking with me, along with my other friends and family that have passed. And wouldn't it be neat if when you passed away and you went on to that next world, wouldn't it be cool if you got to see some highlights from this world? And we found out that when we do think of our uncle here, and our grandmother here, and our best buddy Jason here, wouldn't it be cool if they actually were? God, that's a beautiful thought. Let's hope and pray that that is a true statement, you know? Because a lot of us have friends and family. I'm not the only one. And what would we do if we could bring them back, even if just for a year? We would appreciate every single day for what it is. It's a gift. And it's because people like my Uncle Dave have passed away early, and people like Shannen Doherty that have left the earth early. That's why we gotta walk, you know? I'll be here for you every day, no different than the soap opera that you love. I'll be here every day, no different than Big Brother. That sounds a little weird. Big Brother, the TV show, right? That I loved and was addicted to along with my family members. That's what I want this to be. Am I as entertaining as 90210 or The Young and the Restless, right? Or Big Brother? Probably not, right? But at the same time, if you want to start a walking routine and it's something that you want to do for the rest of your life, I'll be your soap opera. Let's talk about another death that was overshadowed by the Donald Trump situation. We lost an exercise and fitness god or guru in Richard Simmons. So think about this. We lost Dr. Atkins at age 77. We lost Dr. John McDougall at age 77. I think we lost Dr. Atkins at age 77, but I'm pretty sure he was in his 70s, right? And we lost Richard Simmons at age 76. This means that all three of these famous gurus that we listened to and watched and loved, hoping that they would help us stay healthy so that we could live with our family members longer, and no doubt they did for millions of people, right? But for all the advice they gave, they didn't necessarily help themselves live any longer, right? I think we could all potentially live to be age 76, right? Whether we exercise or not, we could potentially live to be that long, right? So you have to ask yourself, why were they in our lives? Why did we have these people that taught us how to live longer? And why did they not end up living longer? Was their life a sham? No, not at all. I think if all three of them were back on the planet today, they would still recommend their diets, and they would still recommend their way of constantly working out and moving and sweating to the oldies, right? Like Richard Simmons. But the reality is, you don't know how long you're going to live. No matter how healthy you are, you could still, in theory, die because a little clot gets stuck, and all of a sudden, the blood flow to your brain or to your heart is interrupted, and you go into cardiac arrest or you stroke out, right? That could happen to each and every one of us. The thought behind exercise and fitness, right, is that hopefully you get yourself to the point where that doesn't happen to your body. We don't want that to happen, So why do I mention these three people, Dr. John McDougall, Dr. Atkins, and Richard Simmons? Well, because technically speaking, I think my grandmother might have given the best advice that I've ever heard for longevity. And that is kind of the same advice that Jesus probably gave. You got to learn to turn the cheek. You got to learn that when somebody wants to argue with you, the only thing that happens is both sides of the argument usually get poisoned. And one thing I found in debating throughout my life, not that I was a debater, but I would watch a lot of debates on YouTube and stuff, and I think you should watch the debate too. No matter how compelling the argument, I've never seen the losing person on the debate say, "You've changed my mind, you've converted me." People are set in their ways. So if you love to argue, and you love to cause strife, and you love to put yourself in stressful situations, I think that's why we die in our mid-70s rather than living till our mid or late 90s like my grandmother and all of her family did. Every time we would go to a family outing with my grandmother and her brothers and sisters, there was never an argument. There was never a battle of words. There was very rarely disagreement, even though I'm sure politically and religiously and I'm sure different theories and ideas pervaded the family's thoughts. But when we were together for Christmas and Thanksgiving and birthdays and anniversaries, those things never really started and erupted into arguments like they do at your family get-togethers. And so it got me thinking, there has to be a mental component to living longer. My grandmother walked to work despite having a car. She walked to the bus, and she took the bus to work for a great many years of her life. So she always had a walk. Every one of those walks, unless she was a zombie and just walked through aimlessly thinking about nothing, every one of those walks, I have to believe, based on my walk, that she found a way to come up with solutions to her problems. In today's hustle and bustle, we don't have a dedicated hour each day where we can just sit there and ponder our problems and try to come up with solutions. But when you're on your walk and you dive into your think tank and you think about any given subject under the sun, you'll find that your brain comes up with solutions to these problems. How do you get your brain to do that, Jesse? Bob, I'm glad you asked. A lot of times when you just ask yourself, Jesse, come up with an idea. How can I earn more money? How can I get rid of my bills? How can I come up with a game plan? And a lot of times when you're on your walk and you ask yourself these questions on a Monday, you'll be shocked because the answer will literally come to you either in a dream, or you'll be walking on a Wednesday or Thursday and all of a sudden you'll say, I've got it. This is what I'm gonna do. This is what I'm gonna say to my family relative that I'm having trouble with. This is how I'm gonna talk to Dale and Karen and Peter when I go to work and they bring up something that I disagree with. And you can come up with a plan and a strategy, and I'm sure we can all agree that having a plan and a strategy is better than just going through life taking things as they come. You're going to have some situations in life that you're not expecting. We all do, right? And they're going to be shocking to you. But you're also going to have some situations in life that would be shocking to you, but because when you're on your walk, you can come up with some proactive solutions, you'll be able to get past those hurdles and obstacles so much better than people that don't have that. So is the best way to stay healthy and live forever your diet like Dr. Atkins thought? Is it your diet like Dr. John McDougall thought? Is it staying young, popular, and youthful like we think when we watch people like Shannen Doherty, right? Is it luck like Donald Trump moving his head a couple of inches and avoiding a bullet, right? Or is it something more akin to what my grandmother thought? How can we get rid of our stress? You know, just because somebody else is angry with you, that's a poison in their soul. That doesn't mean you have to be angry with them. And if you can let that anger go, you're going to breathe better. You're going to be less stressed. You're going to be happier. And you're going to start to notice that that cortisol that's keeping that gut in your weight or in your hips, it's going to start to dissipate. You're going to start to fall in love with your walk, but you're not going to know why. But the reason that you are is because your walk is going to make you live longer. But it might not necessarily have anything to do with the physical aspect. It might be the mental aspect. I think when your brain is happy and when your problems seem light, right? And you walk with a smile when you talk. You ever talk to somebody and you just feel like they're growling at you like, rah! You can almost sense when somebody's tense and angry. Maybe that describes you. Well, let me ask you a question. No matter how much exercise you do, if I told you that there's probably a good chance that that tenseness that you feel, and that anger and that stress, that's probably going to kill you before anything physical would. And it's that stuff that I think probably has a hand in creating things like cancers and heart attacks and strokes. So how can you be this mellow, fun-loving person like Jesse and his grandma were? In my case, I saw my grandmother take these philosophies that she taught me, and I saw her live to be older than the Queen of England. And the Queen of England lived a long time. Just as old as Betty White. And Betty White lived a long time. So when you see somebody that lives their life by this certain mantra or this certain set of beliefs, namely, turn the cheek, don't argue with people, you're not going to be able to debate them into changing and seeing your viewpoint. When you debate people and change their viewpoints, a lot of times it's not the debate. It's something that happens in real life, right? Why do people all of a sudden go out and purchase a gun, even though their whole life they were anti-gun? The reason is because somebody broke into their home. The reason is because they got mugged. The reason is because one of their family members got killed or hurt. And so the first thing their brain says is, oh, I was wrong. I'm going to go buy a gun. I'm going to get a concealed carry permit. I'm going to start carrying a gun on me, right? The whole 9 yards. That's what changes people, not a debate where you tell them these things. It's the actual experience. So knowing that more than likely, no matter how good and set up your arguments are, you're never going to change other people's feelings and thoughts and beliefs. If you can realize that that's the truth, then you can go about your way and you can give up on trying to change people. You can't change people. So tie this all together, Jesse. The only way I can change people on a daily walk is if you give me 15 to 21 days and you try to get addicted to the walk. Because you're never going to get addicted to my words, okay? I'm not Richard Simmons. I'm not Dr. Atkins. I'm not Shannen Doherty, thank goodness, right? I like being a boy, right? Or a man. You're not going to change people's feelings. So if you quit getting upset because you can't get your brother-in-law to see things your way, you can't get Dale or Karen at work to see things your way, you can't get people like Peter and 2 cents not to give you that snide comment. When you can get to the point where you realize those things, you're going to be able to potentially live longer, because you're going to quit trying to put energy and effort into changing people. Changing people is impossible. The only person you can change, and it's very difficult, is yourself. So the reason you should watch Walk, Talk, Vent, and the reason you should try the things that I'm suggesting is not because I'm going to ever come up with some magical words that get you to try them. You have to come to this reality yourself, that part of living in longevity is trying to set yourself in a situation where you don't walk into danger. That's why I tell you to keep your head up and on a swivel. And if you see somebody that's suspect and shady, go a different route, okay? If you see somebody messing with somebody's car, go tell your neighbor that weird people are messing with their car. Why? Because you would want that same neighbor to have your back when you go out of town. And therefore, in the future, when you have neighbors and friends that have your back because you invested time in them and had their back, then all of a sudden you're going to go on vacations and you're going to feel that much better about leaving your house to your neighbors, okay? When you are gone, your house is at the mercy of how much your neighbors care for you. If someone's robbing your house and the neighbors have this, hey, I've never met my neighbor, I don't care, it's not my problem, look the other way. If you have a situation like that, you're going to come home and find out that your house was ransacked, right? But if you know in your heart that, hey, every one of my neighbors knows me, they know I'm going out of town, if they see a moving truck in my house, they know to call me. If you have a situation like that, you can sleep well when you're on vacation, friends. If you don't, that might be why when you go on vacation, you don't sleep well. And by the way, a lot of my friends have said that to me through the years. Jesse, I love going on vacation, but you know what? I don't sleep very well. When I used to go to Las Vegas every year, and I would play tournaments like the World Series of Poker. Now, this was quite a long time ago, back in 06 and 07, so we're talking nearly 20 years ago. I don't know if they pumped weird oxygen and weird air into the rooms or what, but it was damn near impossible for me to fall asleep in casinos. You've tried falling asleep in the casino while you're playing the slot machine? No, in the rooms, Bob, in the rooms. It's hard to sleep in a bed that's not your own. And for some reason, it's hard for me to sleep in casinos. Do I still go to casinos and spend the night and go on vacations? Of course, right? I haven't gone in quite a few years, but if I had the opportunity, I would still go, and I would try my best to find a way to fall asleep. And I have a feeling if I walked a lot, like I do now, I would probably sleep well. So I think that's the goal the next time I go to Vegas. Try to walk a lot, or at least more than I did. It doesn't matter if you're an exercise guru. It doesn't matter if you know all about calories in and calories out, and you know all this about cholesterol and this, that, and the other. You're probably still going to die at the same age that most people do, in their 70s or 80s. If you want to live longer than that, it might have to deal with genetics. I've told you guys before that my grandmother and her line of family lived to be well into their 90s. But my other 3 lines, my grandfather lived to be 80-something, he being the husband to my grandma, at least once upon a time. And then on my dad's side, my grandma and grandpa on their side lived to be, I think, in their late 60s, early 70s. So we're talking, I have a 3 in 4 chance that I'm on the lines of grandparents where they didn't make it into their 90s. But my personality and my demeanor are like my grandma. So I have a chance to live in the 90s, but here's the thing that my grandma taught me. Because I'm a little bit more into walking and working out than my grandmother was, I want to keep my legs and lower body strong so that where she couldn't walk the last 8 or 9 years of her life, I want to make it where I can walk all the way until I hit age 100, if I hit age 100. These gurus keep dying at very average ages. What's that tell you? To me, it tells me they're focusing a little bit too much on the diet and exercise and not on the mental side. I don't know if you guys heard this or not, but the last 5-10 years of his life, nobody ever saw Richard Simmons. He didn't really come out of his house. He became a recluse. I don't know if you noticed with Dr. John McDougall, the last handful of years of his life, he didn't look so healthy. Now, to be fair, when he was a very young man, I think McDougall had a stroke of sorts, so he might have kind of grown up a little aged prematurely over other people. But I think the moral of the story is, if you want to walk because you have somebody like me, I'm going to be like Big Brother and like that soap opera. I am going to be here every single day for you. You are going to find out that your stress levels are going to go down even quicker than the scale is. So again, even if you're walking with me and maybe right now you're on a little bit of a plateau or a stall in your weight loss, don't give up on your walk. Because the main thing with us walking and stuff is it's supposed to increase the years at the end of our life. Well, the way you do that is try to think happy thoughts. Try to think solutions into your problems. A lot of times we as human beings want to just stick our head in the sand and forget about the issues that we deal with, you know? And a lot of times when you're on your walk, it'll make you think of friends that you haven't talked to in a while. Hey Joyce, your best friend Katie in Texas, she hasn't talked to you in 3 or 4 years. Now, are you going to blame that on her not picking up the phone? Because you've got a phone in your hand right now. Why don't you give your old pal a call and see how he or she is doing? What if they need you in their life right now? What if they lost their phone and all their contacts and they're in a real rough way and they don't know how to get in touch with you, but you know how to get in touch with them? And what if every day they're praying, please let Carla get in touch with me, and maybe they're too old, they don't have the wherewithal to go on Facebook and find you? So again, guys, don't wait for your dad to call you into his life like I did, and then when you finally get the urge to pick up the phone and call them, you realize they've been dead for 5 years. Could you imagine that? And if you're avoiding your mom and dad, or you're avoiding certain members of your family, you know, that kind of poisons you just as much as it punishes them. Learn to forgive. Learn to be happy. Learn to have a smile in your voice so that when you talk, people want to talk with you. If you have a growl in your voice, people aren't going to want to talk with you. And if you have a fake smile in your voice, it's not really a fake it till you make it type thing. You have to make a decision. Do you want to be somebody that's cool, mellow, laid back, and fun to talk to? Or do you want to be a closed door that nobody wants to knock on and get to meet you? You know? Be mellow. I think that's the real key to longevity and living a long time. Be mellow. Be a positive light in people's lives. And the best way you can do that is to really like the man or woman in the mirror. I think a lot of us secretly dislike ourselves, and dare I say, some of us even hate ourselves. We got to get over this. And if you hate yourself because you're overweight, what a shitty reason to hate anybody. You need to forgive yourself, okay? If you started eating like a pig, so to speak, when you were a teenager, and now you're in your 40s and you've been big your whole life, you need to forgive yourself, okay? Walking does not take long. If you walk with me for 2 or 3 months and actually give up the sugar and drink water and walk more and more, you will lose weight. If you slow roll things, like I'm gonna walk, but I'm not gonna give up my soda, and I'm not gonna give up my sweet tea, and I'm not gonna give up my donut, then you're gonna still maintain and maybe lose a couple pounds a year, but that's still better than nothing because of the mental aspect. It's gonna make you a happier person. So why should you watch Walk, Talk, Vent? The reason you should watch Walk, Talk, Vent is because you need to find some way, somehow, where you can start making these changes in your life. And if you've been walking with me for 100 days, that's not necessarily a permanent change. The permanent change comes from within. You have to ask yourself, have I been a jerk? Am I Dale? And if I'm Dale, do I want to go down and pass away and have people remember me as Dale, this character that nobody likes? If that's your goal, if you're okay with the idea that nobody likes you, because I know a lot of people are, then I guess that's okay. But you're going to end up being like 2 Cent, where it's just you and your dog, and you're going to get off by arguing with neighbors. And I'm telling you, people like 2 Cent don't live to be 80 or 90. He's probably 55 or 60, and he looks 80 or 90, because that's what stress does to people. So open up your heart, open up your mind. You're going to be entering a new version of you, a new season, but you have to open the door and accept it. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you tomorrow.